The Imperial scout ship hung silently in the darkness of space, its advanced cloaking systems making it invisible to Earth's primitive radar systems. Commander James Miller watched the blue planet through his ship's viewing screen, making notes about the military bases scattered across its surface. "Such a waste of resources," he muttered, watching another rocket launch from Cape Canaveral. "They're still using chemical fuel to reach their own orbit." His second-in-command, Officer Robert Wilson, stood behind him with a tablet displaying their scan results. "Sir, their technology level is at least 200 years behind the Empire standards. They haven't even colonized their moon permanently." Miller nodded, his expression showing a mix of pity and boredom. This would be his 15th first contact conquest, and they all followed the same pattern. A show of force, a quick surrender, and then integration into the Empire. He had seen it so many times before. "Send the report to Imperial Command," Miller ordered. "Mark it as a Class 3 civilization. Minimal space presence, nuclear capability, but no significant orbital defenses. Should be a standard conquest protocol." 3 days later, the Imperial conquest fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Peter Black commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Imperial Dawn. 20 warships, each capable of destroying a small continent, moved into formation. It was standard procedure to send overwhelming force. It usually led to quick surrender and minimal casualties on both sides. "Begin the first phase," Black commanded. "Target their primary military installations. Remember, we want submission, not destruction." The fleet split into 3 groups, each targeting a different continent. Their ships entered Earth's atmosphere with confidence, their shields easily deflecting the primitive missiles launched against them. That's when everything went wrong. The first surprise came from orbit. Hundreds of small satellites, previously appearing inactive, suddenly lit up with energy readings. Before the Imperial ships could react, beams of focused solar energy sliced through space, overwhelming their shields with unexpected power. "Impossible," Black shouted as the reports came in. "Their technology level." "Sir, we're detecting nuclear launches," an officer called out. "But they're not coming from the ground." Hidden bases on the dark side of the moon opened up, revealing missile silos that had been completely invisible to Imperial scans. The humans had hidden their true capabilities behind a facade of primitive technology. The Imperial fleet scrambled to respond, but Earth's forces had planned this moment carefully. Every satellite, every hidden weapon platform, had been carefully positioned over years. The humans knew someone would come eventually, and they had prepared. 6 ships lost. The damage control officer's voice was filled with panic. "Sir, their weapons. They're combining nuclear detonations with some kind of magnetic field technology we've never seen before." Admiral Black watched in horror as another of his ships exploded. The humans weren't following any of the standard defensive protocols. Their strategies were unpredictable, their weapons impossibly effective against Imperial shields. "Full retreat," he finally ordered. "Get us out of this system." But the humans weren't finished. As the Imperial ships tried to escape, they found their faster-than-light drives wouldn't activate. Something was interfering with the space-time distortion fields they needed for FTL travel. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." On the main screen, a stern-faced man in a military uniform appeared. Admiral William Hart of Earth's United Defense Force looked directly at them through the video feed. To the Imperial forces, he spoke calmly. "You have entered restricted space and engaged in hostile actions against Earth. Your ships are currently trapped by our gravity well projectors. You have 2 choices: surrender and face trial for your aggression, or be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to decide." As Admiral Black looked at his burning fleet, he realized the Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had judged Earth by its visible technology, never considering that humans might deliberately appear weaker than they were. This wasn't going to be a simple conquest. It was going to be a war. And for the first time in his career, Black wasn't sure the Empire would win. He opened a channel to Imperial Command. They needed to know what they were really dealing with. Earth wasn't just another primitive world to conquer. It was a carefully laid trap that they had walked right into. In the high-security detention center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Thomas Walker studied the captured Imperial officer through a one-way glass. The prisoner wore a uniform similar to Earth's military designs, but with the golden insignia of the Galactic Empire. He looked completely human. "So they found others like us before," Walker said to his intelligence chief, Mary Thompson. "That explains a lot." The prisoner, Captain Marcus Reed, sat calmly at the metal table. According to his identification, he had been born on a human colony world called New Eden, one of the many lost colonies from Earth's early, failed attempts at space exploration. Walker entered the room, his footsteps echoing against the concrete walls. Reed looked up, his face showing no surprise at meeting another human. "I was wondering when Earth's leadership would come to talk," Reed said, his voice carrying a slight accent. "I assume you're here to discuss surrender terms." Walker sat down across from him. "Actually, I'm here to understand why a human is fighting for the people trying to conquer his homeworld." Reed's laugh was cold. "Earth isn't my homeworld. I was born on New Eden. The Empire found us 30 years ago. A struggling colony trying to survive on a harsh planet. They offered us technology, medicine, and a place in their civilization. In exchange for your loyalty," Walker finished. "In exchange for accepting reality," Reed corrected. "The Empire rules over 300 star systems. They've conquered species far more advanced than humans. Fighting them is suicide." Walker pulled out a tablet and placed it on the table, playing a video of the recent battle. Reed's confident expression faltered as he watched Imperial ships being destroyed by Earth's defenses. "Does this look like suicide to you?" Walker asked. "A lucky first strike," Reed insisted, but uncertainty crept into his voice. "The Empire will send more ships. Bigger ships. They'll keep coming until Earth falls. That's why I'm trying to help you. Surrender now, and they'll be merciful." Walker leaned forward. "Let me tell you what your Empire doesn't understand about Earth, Captain. We've spent our entire history fighting each other. Every weapon, every strategy, every defense system you saw today was built because we never trusted our own kind, let alone aliens." He switched the video to show Earth's hidden moon bases, orbital platforms, and underwater military installations. "We've been preparing for an alien invasion since we first looked up at the stars. Not because we knew you were coming, but because we considered every possibility." Reed's face paled as he watched. "These defenses, they're more advanced than anything the Empire has seen. How did you hide them?" "The same way we hid everything else," Walker replied. "We learned long ago that appearing weak can be an advantage. Your Empire saw what we wanted them to see. A planet still taking its first steps into space. It won't be enough," Reed warned. "The Empire never stops. They'll burn Earth to ash rather than accept defeat." Walker stood up, his expression hardening. "That's where you're wrong, Captain. The Empire has never faced humans who grew up on Earth. We don't think like your colonists, shaped by a single harsh world. We carry the legacy of thousands of cultures, each with their own way of fighting." He walked to the door, then turned back. "Your Empire made 3 mistakes. First, they assumed our visible technology showed our true capabilities. Second, they thought our divisions made us weak, never realizing they made us stronger. But their biggest mistake," Walker's voice carried absolute conviction, "they gave us a reason to unite. For the first time in human history, every nation, every military, every scientist is working together. We've already reversed engineered the drives from your destroyed ships. Tell your Empire that, Captain. Tell them what happens when humans stop fighting each other and find a common enemy." Reed watched Walker leave, then turned back to the battle footage still playing on the tablet. He had served the Empire faithfully for decades, believing in their inevitable victory. But watching Earth's defenses in action, seeing the complexity of their planning, he felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood: doubt. In his report to the Empire, sent through the quantum communicator they hadn't found in his tooth, Reed added a personal note. Earth is not like other worlds. These humans don't just fight. They plan, adapt, and deceive. Most importantly, they're not afraid. The Empire has never faced an enemy like this before. The Empire's top scientists stared at the test results in disbelief. Dr. Alan White, head of Earth's reverse engineering division, couldn't help but smile as he watched them through the video feed. It had taken his team just 2 weeks to understand the Imperial ship's faster-than-light drive technology. Impossible, one of the Imperial scientists muttered. It took us 50 years to develop that technology. That's because you followed a logical path of development, White replied. We didn't. We looked at your engine and asked, what if we did everything differently? In labs across Earth, similar scenes played out. Teams of scientists and engineers took apart every piece of Imperial technology they could salvage. They weren't just copying the designs, they were reimagining them, finding ways to make them work better. The biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Linda Parker, a brain researcher, made a stunning discovery while studying the captured Imperial navigation systems. Look at these readings, she told the military command. The Empire's faster-than-light navigation requires precise calculations of 5-dimensional space. Their computers handle most of it, but the final adjustments need an organic brain. She pulled up a comparison of brain scans. Here's the interesting part. Human brains process these patterns naturally. We're 30% more efficient at it than any species the Empire has found. We were born to navigate space. Admiral Walker understood the importance immediately. That's why they use humans from the colonies as navigators. They found out we're naturally good at it. But Earth wasn't just learning, it was innovating. In a hidden facility under the Pacific Ocean, engineers tested a new kind of shield technology. Unlike the Empire's energy-based shields, these pulse shields used rapid bursts of electromagnetic force. The Empire's weapons are designed to break through constant shield energy, explained Chief Engineer Mike Foster. Our shields pulse on and off 50 times per second. Their weapons can't adapt fast enough to get through. The Empire's leadership grew increasingly worried as reports came in. Their standard tactics weren't working. Every time they destroyed an Earth weapon, 2 more appeared with better defenses. Human ships were smaller but faster, using attack patterns that made no sense until it was too late. In an Imperial command center, General Paul Gray, another human from the colonies, warned his superiors, "You don't understand Earth tactics because you're thinking like soldiers. Earth fights like guerrilla warriors, pirates, and castle defenders all at once. There is no single pattern to learn." He showed them footage of the latest battle, where tiny Earth ships had taken down an Imperial cruiser. See this. They copied this attack run from a video game. They're taking ideas from their entertainment and making them work in real space combat. The Empire's military analysts couldn't keep up. Humans uploaded computer viruses that quoted ancient poetry. They hid warships in cargo containers. One Earth captain even painted his ship to look like space debris, drifting dead until an Imperial vessel came close enough to attack. But the real shock came when Earth forces demonstrated their own version of Imperial technology. Their ships were ugly by Imperial standards, a mix of stolen tech and human engineering, held together by what looked like desperation and hope. They worked better than they should have. "I don't understand," an Imperial engineer complained, watching an Earth ship outmaneuver their best vessels. They'd broken every rule of proper engineering. They've got Imperial drive systems plugged into human computers, running on software that looks like it was written by a madman. It shouldn't work. "But it does work," his commander replied quietly. "It works better than ours." In the 6 months since first contact, humanity had done more than just survive. They had started to turn the tide. Earth ships now roamed the edges of Imperial space, using their superior navigation skills to appear and disappear at will. The Empire had started the war expecting an easy victory over a primitive world. Instead, they had given humanity access to advanced technology and a reason to push it beyond its limits. As Admiral Walker looked at the latest reports, he allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Reverse Engineering is complete. Operation Strike Back begins tomorrow." Commander Anna Stone stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Silent Thunder, watching her crew prepare for humanity's first major offensive against the Empire. Her ship looked nothing like the sleek Imperial vessels. Its hull was painted black with irregular patterns that made it hard to see against space's darkness. "All stealth systems check complete," reported her second-in-command, Jack Rogers. "The Empire still thinks these are just cargo stations." Stone nodded, looking at the tactical display. 3 Imperial space stations hung in orbit around one of their major colony worlds. Each station was heavily armed and shielded by Imperial standards. But humans had learned that Imperial standards weren't as high as they thought. "Begin Operation Trojan Horse," Stone ordered. Across 50 different locations in Imperial space, cargo ships that had been ignored as harmless suddenly came to life. The Empire had gotten used to human merchants visiting their ports, selling Earth goods that Imperial citizens had grown to love. They never suspected that some of those merchants were actually military officers. "Launch drones," Stone commanded. From her ship's cargo bay, hundreds of small, automated vessels emerged. Each one carried a simple nuclear weapon. Technology the Empire considered too primitive to be a threat. But humans had learned to combine old weapons with new tricks. The drones approached the first station, broadcasting Imperial identification codes stolen months ago. Station defenses ignored them, programmed to only watch for advanced energy weapons. "They're about to learn why humans never completely stopped using nuclear weapons," Rogers said with a grim smile. The drones detonated in a carefully planned pattern. The first explosion wasn't meant to destroy. It created an electromagnetic pulse that knocked out the station's shields. The second wave hit the now defenseless station. "First station down," reported the tactical officer. "Moving to Phase 2. Similar scenes played out across Imperial space. The Empire had built their defenses to stop energy weapons and plasma torpedoes. They weren't prepared for what they saw as outdated nuclear weapons combined with modern stealth technology. Stone watched as her fleet emerged from hiding. The ships were a strange mix of Earth and Imperial design. Some had Imperial engines attached to Earth-built hulls. Others used Earth nuclear power to run stolen Imperial weapons. "The Empire calls our ships ugly," Stone told her crew. "They say we don't follow proper engineering protocols. But here's what they don't understand. Humans have always been good at turning junk into weapons." The second station fell to a different tactic. Stone's ships fired what looked like chunks of space debris. The station's defenses ignored them until they suddenly changed course, revealing themselves as disguised missiles. "Second station neutralized," Tactical reported. "But the third one has detected us." The final station began firing, its energy weapons lighting up space. But Stone just smiled. "Activate pulse shields," she ordered. The Empire's weapons hit the shields and did nothing. They were designed to break through constant energy barriers, not Earth's rapidly pulsing shield technology. "They're calling for reinforcements," communications reported. "Good," Stone replied. "Let them call. Let them tell everyone how a primitive world is beating them at their own game." The battle ended quickly after that. The third station's commander surrendered when he realized his weapons couldn't touch the Earth ships. As Stone's crew secured the station, they found something interesting. Most of the Imperial citizens had already evacuated. "They ran as soon as they heard Earth ships were coming," Rogers reported. "Looks like we're getting a reputation." Stone walked to the station's main window, looking out at the colony world below. "Send the message," she ordered. Across Imperial space, on every captured station and defeated ship, the same words appeared on every screen. This is Earth's first and only warning. We didn't want this war. You brought it to us. But we will end it. You have two choices: accept us as equals, or learn why humans have survived every threat we've ever faced. In the Imperial capital, the High Command received reports of 50 simultaneous attacks. 50 victories. 50 examples of how humans had taken Imperial technology and made it more dangerous by breaking all the rules. How do we fight an enemy that turns our own weapons against us? One general asked. The answer came from a junior officer who had studied Earth's history. We don't. We've started something the Empire has never faced. A war where our enemy learns faster than we do. The Imperial Council chamber was in chaos. 12 representatives from different species sat around the grand table, all talking at once. News of Earth's successful attacks had spread across the Empire, and now everything was changing. Lord High Commander Richard Davis, another human from the colonies, stood before them trying to explain the latest crisis. 3 more worlds have declared their independence this week alone. They're asking Earth for protection. Impossible, shouted one of the council members, his scaled skin turning dark with anger. No world would dare leave the Empire. Davis played a recording on the main screen. It showed Earth ships defending a former Imperial colony from Empire forces. The Earth ships moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics, using maneuvers the Empire had never seen before. The colony worlds are watching, Davis explained. They see how Earth fights, how humans take our technology and make it better. They're starting to wonder if they backed the wrong side. In another part of Imperial space, a group of Imperial warships faced an unexpected problem. Their crews were deserting. Captain Eric Thompson of the Imperial flagship Destiny's Power read the latest report with growing concern. Another 15 crew members failed to return from shore leave, his officer reported. That makes 60 this month. Thompson knew where they were going. Earth had offered citizenship to any Imperial citizen who wanted to switch sides. Many were taking the offer, especially those who had seen Earth ships in action. Back on Earth, Admiral Walker received an interesting visitor. An Imperial scientist, Dr. Helen Ross, had surrendered herself with a complete database of Imperial research. Why? Walker asked her. Why turn against the Empire? Ross smiled sadly. Because you understand something the Empire forgot long ago. They think science is about following rules. You show us it's about breaking them to find better ones. She showed him her research. Look at how Earth adapts. You take our technology, and instead of copying it, you ask, what if? The Empire hasn't had a major scientific breakthrough in 50 years. Earth makes new discoveries every week. The Empire's problems grew worse. Their ships began reporting strange malfunctions. Earth had released computer viruses that hid in Imperial networks, waiting to strike. But these weren't normal viruses. They used random patterns based on Earth weather systems, making them impossible to predict. In an Imperial military base, General Gray faced his superiors again. Earth isn't just winning battles, he warned. They're winning hearts and minds. Every time we attack, they show mercy to surrendering forces. Every time we threaten a world, they offer protection. He showed them more footage. Earth ships were now equipped with technology the Empire had never imagined. They could jump through space in ways that Imperial scientists said were impossible. Their weapons combined simple nuclear power with advanced Imperial tech in ways that broke every rule of engineering. Do you know what's really frightening? Gray asked. They're enjoying this. Humans love solving problems, and we've given them the biggest problem they've ever faced. The council meeting ended with no solution in sight. As the members left, Davis stayed behind, looking at the reports. Earth now controlled 20% of Imperial space. More worlds were asking for their protection every day. The Empire's perfect order was falling apart. On a distant Imperial world, a group of young officers watched van videos from Earth. They saw humans living freely, choosing their own paths, breaking rules to make things better. One of them, Lieutenant Mark Winter made a decision. "I'm going to Earth," he announced. "Who's coming with me?" By morning, his entire unit had deserted. The Empire had spent centuries building perfect order. Every rule was followed. Every process was exactly as it should be. But now they faced an enemy that didn't care about rules, that found ways to do things everyone said were impossible. In his private chambers, the Emperor himself watched Earth's latest victory with growing fear. These humans weren't just fighting a war. They were changing everything the Empire had built. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "it's time to consider negotiations." But from Earth came no interest in talks. They had offered peace at the start. Now they had a different message: adapt or fall. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Australian outback, Dr. Lisa Brown made the breakthrough that would change the war forever. Her team had been studying Imperial quantum communications for months, and finally, they had cracked it. "Look at this," she told Admiral Walker, pointing to her computer screen. "The Empire's quantum network isn't as secure as they think. They based it on perfect mathematical patterns, but we found a way to break those patterns." Walker leaned forward, suddenly very interested. "Can we read their communications?" "Better," Brown smiled. "We can send false messages they can't detect. The Empire trusts their quantum network completely. They never built in any way to check if messages are real." Within hours, Earth's military command put together the most ambitious plan of the war. They called it Operation Chaos. Instead of trying to defeat the Empire's ships, they would turn the Empire's perfect order against itself. Commander Stone, now leading Earth's Special Operations Fleet, gathered her captains for the briefing. "The Empire runs everything through their quantum network," she explained. "Every order, every confirmation, every response follows exact patterns. Today, we're going to break those patterns." The plan was simple but brilliant. Earth would send thousands of fake orders through the Imperial network. Every Imperial commander would receive different instructions, each appearing to come from higher authority. "Strike Team Alpha in position," reported Captain David Wilson from his stealth ship near an Imperial core world. Similar reports came in from 50 other locations. Earth had positioned its forces throughout Imperial space, waiting for the signal. At exactly midnight Greenwich time, Operation Chaos began. The Imperial quantum network lit up with thousands of contradictory orders. Some ships were told to attack their allies. Others received orders to retreat from vital positions. Supply ships suddenly got commands to dump their cargo into space. In the Imperial capital, chaos erupted. The High Command received reports of battles that weren't happening, invasions that didn't exist, and surrenders from worlds that were still loyal. They tried to send clear orders, but no one knew which messages to trust. "This is impossible," an Imperial commander shouted as his fleet received 3 different orders from 3 supposedly supreme authorities. "The quantum network cannot be compromised." But it had been. As the Empire's forces fell into confusion, Earth struck. 50 simultaneous attacks hit key Imperial positions. But these weren't just military targets. Earth had learned from human history about attacking supply lines. Stone's fleet hit the Empire's main fuel production facility. They built their entire fleet to run on one type of quantum fuel, she told her crew. They thought it was more efficient. They never considered what would happen if they lost it. Other Earth forces struck shipyards, weapons factories, and command centers. Each target had been chosen not just for its military value, but for its effect on Imperial morale. The Empire had built a society where everything depended on everything else working perfectly. Earth was showing them the cost of that perfect order. In orbit around an Imperial agriculture world, Captain Tom Foster watched Imperial ships fighting each other because of false orders. "Send the message," he commanded. Throughout Imperial space, Earth ships broadcast the same words on all frequencies. "Your quantum network has fallen. Your perfect order is broken. Every transmission you receive could be real or could be from us. You trusted technology too much. You forgot that sometimes the old ways are more reliable." The Empire's response system collapsed within hours. Some commanders stopped trusting any orders that came through the quantum network. Others tried to verify everything through slower traditional communications. Many simply froze, afraid to act without perfect certainty. In the Imperial Council chamber, Davis watched the reports come in. A third of the Empire's fleet was now stuck in space, its commanders afraid to move without confirmed orders. Another third was engaged in battles caused by false commands. The rest was either surrendering to Earth or trying desperately to maintain order. "We should have remembered," he said quietly, "that humans have been fighting wars since before they had technology. They know how to think without it." The Empire had built its power on perfect control and unbreakable communications. In a single day, humanity had shown them that nothing was truly unbreakable. The turning point had come not through superior weapons or tactics, but through the simple human ability to think differently about problems. As reports of more Imperial surrenders came in, Admiral Walker prepared to send his final message to the Emperor. The war wasn't over, but its outcome was now certain. Humanity had proven that sometimes the best way to win wasn't to be stronger, but to be cleverer. The Imperial Palace gleamed under its artificial suns, its crystal spires reaching toward the stars. Inside the Grand Transmission Chamber, the Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by his remaining loyal advisors. On the massive screen before them, Admiral Walker's face looked back calmly. "You understand the situation," Walker said simply. It wasn't a question. The Emperor, his elegant robes now seeming too heavy for his tired shoulders, nodded slowly. "Half my fleet has surrendered. A third of my worlds have declared independence. My own capital ships are afraid to use the quantum network." "And yet," Walker continued, "you still haven't asked why we're calling." The chamber fell silent. In the past year, humanity had gone from a seemingly primitive species to a force that had broken the Empire's power. Everyone expected Earth to demand the Empire's complete surrender. "We're not like you," Walker said, breaking the silence. "We don't want an empire. We don't want to rule over others. What we want is something you might find harder to accept. We want everyone to be free to choose their own path." The Emperor leaned forward. "What are you proposing?" Walker's image was replaced by a map of Imperial space. "These worlds," he indicated several systems, "have asked for Earth's protection. We'll give it to them. These others want to stay with the Empire. That's their choice." "You would allow worlds to remain with us?" one advisor asked in disbelief. "That's what freedom means," Walker replied. "But there are conditions." The map changed, showing new trade routes and defensive boundaries. First, every world gets to choose its own future. If they want to leave the Empire later, you let them. Second, all species get equal rights. No more second-class citizens. Third, you share your technology freely with all worlds, just as we'll share ours. The Emperor studied the proposal. "And if we refuse?" The screen split, showing footage from recent battles. Earth ships using impossible maneuvers. Imperial technology turned against itself. Worlds celebrating their newfound freedom. "Then we continue," Walker said quietly. "We've learned how your technology works. We've improved it in ways you never imagined. And most importantly, we've shown others they can resist you." Lord Commander Davis stepped forward. "Your Majesty, Earth isn't just winning battles. They're winning hearts. Every world sees how they fight. Not to conquer, but to free. They're offering something we never did. Choice." In orbit around the capital, Earth's fleet hung in space like a constellation of new stars. Their ships were still ugly by Imperial standards, a mix of Earth ingenuity and stolen technology. But no one called them primitive anymore. The Emperor stood, his decision made. "We accept your terms." But Walker wasn't finished. "One last thing," he said. "A message for any future empire that thinks about conquering primitive worlds." The transmission went out across all of known space in every language. "This is Earth. A year ago, the Empire came to conquer us, thinking we were primitive because we hadn't spread across the stars. They didn't understand that we had our own strength. We don't just adapt, we transform. We don't just learn, we innovate. And most importantly, we know that true power isn't about controlling others, but about helping them be free. To any future conquerors, look at what we did to the greatest empire in known space. We didn't just fight them, we changed them. We didn't just resist, we showed everyone a better way. So remember this warning. If you value your power, your order, your control, run. Run fast, run far. Because if you try to conquer us or any world under our protection, we won't just defeat you, we'll transform you. As the transmission ended, the Emperor looked out at the Earth ships. They had done something no other species had managed. They had broken the Empire not through superior force, but by showing a better way to live. In orbit, Commander Stone watched the capital world below. "Do you think they understand yet?" her second-in-command asked. Stone smiled. "They're starting to. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a gun or a ship. Sometimes it's an idea. And humans, we're very good at spreading ideas. Across the galaxy, worlds began to change. The age of empires was ending. The age of freedom, guided by humanity's creative chaos, was just beginning.